I'm a forensic accountant now. Used to be an internal auditor at a tech company in Austin. Tech Vault Systems, cybersecurity software, 800 employees. Publicly traded on NASDAQ, doing pretty well. Until our CFO committed securities fraud. Destroyed 10 years of audit trails to cover it up. SEC agents showed up 8 weeks after she hit delete. She's in federal prison now, serving 12 years. I was the one who reported her. Let me walk you through how it happened. 18 months ago, I'm 38, been at Tech Vault for 6 years. Started as a junior auditor, worked my way up. Senior internal auditor by the time this goes down. My job is making sure financial records are accurate. Checking compliance, verifying data, catching errors before they become problems. Our CFO is Michelle Bradford. She's 47. Been with the company 12 years, last 5 as CFO. MBA from Wharton, CPA, really impressive on paper. Public face of the company on earnings calls. Speaks at conferences about women in finance. Big advocate for diversity in corporate leadership. She's polished, confident, knows her stuff. Or at least that's what everyone thinks. January, last year, board announces new diversity initiative. Tech Vault commits to 30% minority representation by year end. Press release, investor presentation, the whole thing. Part of their ESG strategy, environmental social governance. Investors care about this stuff now, affects stock price. Board assigns Michelle to track and report progress. Makes sense. CFO handles all company reporting. Monthly updates to board. Quarterly disclosures to SEC. High visibility, high pressure. February, I'm doing routine payroll audit. Checking that classifications match actual demographics. We self-report diversity data, voluntary, but most do. Employees can identify as various categories. I'm comparing our internal HR records to Michelle's board reports. Numbers don't match. Michelle's report says we're at 22% minority representation. HR records show 16%. That's a big gap, 6 percentage points. Could be an error, different counting methods maybe. I email Michelle's team asking for clarification. Can you explain the methodology difference? Get a response from her assistant. CFO's office uses updated classification system. More inclusive definitions. That doesn't really answer the question. I dig deeper, pull employee files. Start checking individual classifications. Find something weird. John Martinez, software engineer, listed as Hispanic in Michelle's reports. But in his own HR file, he's listed as white, non-Hispanic. That's what he self-identified as when hired. Check another one, Sarah Chun, listed as Asian in diversity reports. Her HR file says white, she's adopted, not ethnically Asian. Keep checking, find more. 20 employees reclassified without their knowledge. All changed from white/non-Hispanic to minority categories. All in Michelle's diversity reports, but not in the actual HR system. This is fraud. She's inflating the numbers. I go to my boss, director of internal audit, guy named Peter Walsh. He's 52, been in audit forever. Show him what I found. Michelle's diversity numbers don't match HR records. She's reclassified employees without authorization. Peter looks at the data. His face gets serious. This is bad. This goes into SEC filings. If she's misrepresenting diversity metrics to investors, that's securities fraud. What do? Peter, we document everything, then we report it. But we need to be absolutely certain first. Spend the next 2 weeks building the case. Pull every diversity report Michelle filed. Compare to actual HR data. Pattern is clear, consistent misclassification. Started small in January, got worse each month. By March, she's claiming 26% minority representation. Real number is still 16%. 10 percentage points of fraud. We also find fabricated training records. Diversity and inclusion training completion, 94%. Actual completion rate, 31%. She's making up numbers across the board. Not just hiring, but retention, training, everything. March 15th, Peter and I meet with general counsel. Lawyer named Robert Chun. He's 49, takes this seriously. If this is in SEC filings, we have to disclose. Company could face massive fines. Michelle could face criminal charges. Peter, we're certain of the findings. 20 employees misclassified. Training data fabricated. Robert, I need to see everything. We provide him all our documentation. He spends 2 days reviewing. March 18th, Robert calls emergency meeting. CEO, Board Audit Committee, Peter me. CEO is David Reeves. He's 56, founded the company. Robert presents our findings. CFO has been falsifying diversity data, misrepresenting to board and in SEC filings. This is securities fraud, potentially criminal. David is stunned, can't believe it. Michelle's been our CFO for 5 years. Why would she do this? Robert, board set aggressive diversity targets. She couldn't hit them legitimately, so she faked the numbers. Board member asks, how bad is this? Robert, bad. We need to self-report to SEC. Amend previous filings, disclose the fraud. Company will face fines, stock will take a hit. But better than SEC discovering it themselves. David agrees. We report it, do the right thing. But first, I want to talk to Michelle. March 19th, David calls Michelle into his office. Peter and I aren't in the room, but we hear about it after. David confronts her with the evidence. Michelle denies everything at first. Must be a data entry error. Different classification systems. David shows her the specific examples. You reclassified John Martinez without his knowledge. Fabricated training completion data. This is fraud, Michelle. Michelle changes tactics. Claims she was trying to help the company. Board. Put impossible pressure on me. Had to show progress or get fired. I was doing what leadership wanted. David. Leadership wanted real progress, not fake numbers. You've exposed the company to massive liability. Michelle gets defensive. This is because I'm a woman CFO. You're scapegoating me for systemic issues. David, this is because you committed fraud. You're suspended effective immediately. HR will escort you out. Michelle is escorted from the building that afternoon. Suspended with pay pending investigation. Company hasn't decided whether to fire her yet. Wants legal advice on how to handle it. March 20th, I'm back in my office doing routine work. Get a call from IT security. We detected unusual activity on the finance server. Someone's deleting large amounts of data. Me? Who? IT. Michelle Bradford's credentials. But she's supposed to be suspended. I run down to IT. They're watching in real time. Michelle remotely accessing company servers. Deleting files from her home. Audit trails, HR records, payroll data. 10 years of records just disappearing. IT guy. Should we shut her access? Me. Yes, immediately. And save logs of what she deleted. They cut her access, but damage is done. She deleted thousands of files. Backup systems too. She knew where those were. Wiped 7 years of diversity reports. Erased employee classification histories. Destroyed email records related to board presentations. This isn't just destroying evidence. This is obstruction of justice. I call Peter immediately. Michelle just deleted everything. Remotely accessed servers, wiped audit trails. Peter, holy shit, that's a federal crime. We need to preserve whatever's left. I call Robert Chun. Michelle destroyed evidence. Need to report this to SEC right now. Robert, I'll call them today. This just went from bad to catastrophic. March 21st, Robert reports to SEC. Voluntary disclosure of securities fraud. SEC assigns enforcement team immediately. This isn't just a fine anymore. This is criminal prosecution territory. March 23rd, SEC sends document preservation order. All records related to diversity reporting must be preserved. No further destruction or alteration permitted. Bit late for that. Michelle already deleted everything. But we have IT logs showing what she destroyed. And I have something Michelle doesn't know about. Before presenting findings to General Counsel, I backed up everything to an external drive. All the evidence, all the comparisons, all the emails. Kept it locked in my desk just in case. Never thought I'd need it for this reason. But now it's the only complete record that exists. March 25th, SEC enforcement agents arrive at TechVault. 4 of them, led by a woman named Sarah Hoffman. She's 43, been prosecuting securities fraud for 15 years. They want everything related to Michelle's diversity reporting. We need all records from 2024 forward. Robert tells them. CFO destroyed most records. Remotely deleted files after being confronted with fraud. Sarah, so you're telling me there's no documentation? Robert, our internal auditor preserved copies before destruction. Sarah looks at me. You have records? Me, complete documentation of the fraud. Backed up before Michelle knew we'd found it. Sarah, we're going to need everything you have. I hand over the external drive. 10 years of diversity reports, HR records, emails. Everything showing the systematic fraud. Sarah, this is exactly what we need. You may have just made this case. April, SEC investigation intensifies. They subpoena TechVault for additional records. Interview employees, board members, HR staff. I spend 2 days being interviewed, walking through how I discovered the fraud, how Michelle's numbers didn't match HR data, the pattern of misclassification, the fabricated training records. Sarah asks, why did you back up the files? Me, standard audit practice, preserve evidence. Didn't anticipate she'd destroy everything, but wanted complete documentation. Sarah, your backup is the only complete record. Without it, this case would be much harder. SEC also interviews Michelle. She shows up with lawyers, refuses to answer most questions, invokes Fifth Amendment repeatedly. Her lawyer issues statement. Ms. Bradford denies any wrongdoing. She was following company directives to improve diversity. Any discrepancies were unintentional, but the evidence is overwhelming. Her own emails talking about adjusting numbers, making the data look better for the board. Investors need to see progress, plus the destruction of evidence. IT logs showing exactly what she deleted when. Can't claim that was unintentional. May 2nd, SEC enforcement recommends criminal charges. Refers case to Department of Justice. This is now a federal prosecution, not just civil fines, potential prison time. May 15th, federal grand jury indicts Michelle. 5 counts. Securities fraud, misrepresenting material information to investors. Obstruction of justice, destroying evidence. Wire fraud, using electronic systems to commit fraud. Making false statements to SEC. Conspiracy, she had her assistant help with some reports. Each count carries up to 20 years. She's arrested at her home. Perp walk on the news. Former TechVault CFO arrested for securities fraud. Michelle posts bail, $500,000. Released pending trial. Her lawyer holds press conference. This is a rush to judgment. A mess. Bradford was trying to help her company succeed. She's being punished for being a female executive who challenged the old boys club. Nobody's buying it. The evidence is too clear. June, TechVault tries to move forward. Board fires Michelle formally. Hires new CFO, complete financial review. Has to restate 5 years of diversity reports. SEC fines company $45 million for inadequate controls. Failed to prevent CFO from filing false information. Stock price drops 38%. Shareholder lawsuits filed immediately. I'm still working there, but it's uncomfortable. Everyone knows I reported Michelle. Some people grateful, some people angry. You destroyed the company. Should have handled it internally. I didn't destroy anything. Michelle did that when she committed fraud. I just refused to be part of covering it up. August, Michelle's trial begins. Federal courthouse, downtown Austin. Prosecution team, led by U.S. Attorney named James Morrison. He's 51, specializes in white-collar crime. Defense team is expensive, 3 lawyers. Michelle's wearing conservative suits, glasses. Trying to look sympathetic. Prosecution's case is straightforward. Shows the falsified diversity reports. Compares to actual HR data. Demonstrates systematic misclassification. I testify for 2 days. Walk jury through exactly what I found. how I discovered the discrepancies, what I reported and when. James asks, what happened after you reported this? Me. CFO destroyed 10 years of audit records. Remotely deleted files to cover up the fraud. Defense tries to discredit me on cross-examination. Isn't it true you had a grudge against MS? Bradford? No. I never had any conflict with her. I was doing my job as an auditor. Defense, you're the one who benefits from her downfall. Got promoted after she was fired, didn't you? Me? I haven't been promoted. Still the same position, same pay. Defense, but you're testifying in exchange for immunity. Me? I was granted immunity because I reported fraud. That's standard for whistleblowers. I didn't commit any crimes. Prosecution presents the IT logs. Shows exactly when Michelle deleted files. March 20th, day after being suspended. Destroyed thousands of documents remotely. Her own login credentials, no question it was her. Defense tries to argue she was cleaning up personal files. Didn't realize she was destroying evidence. But emails show she knew exactly what she was doing. Need to remove the old reports before audit expands. Make sure backup systems are cleared too. This is consciousness of guilt, clear as day. September, prosecution presents employee testimony. John Martinez, the engineer Michelle reclassified, takes the stand, testifies he never claimed to be Hispanic. I'm Irish and Italian, not Hispanic. Found out I was listed as Hispanic in company reports. Never gave permission for that. Sarah Chun, listed as Asian without consent. I was adopted, I'm ethnically white. Company classified me as Asian based on my last name. That's wrong, that's not who I am. More employees testify, same story. Reclassified without knowledge or consent. Used to inflate diversity numbers. Their identities commodified for corporate metrics. Defense argues Michelle made honest mistakes. Classification systems are complicated. She was trying to be inclusive, but prosecution shows the emails. Michelle writing to her assistant. Expand Hispanic category to include anyone with Spanish-sounding name. Asian category includes anyone adopted from Asia. This isn't confusion about classification. This is deliberate fraud. Defense calls character witnesses. People who worked with Michelle say she's ethical. Board members who praised her work. She was under tremendous pressure. Board demanded results she couldn't deliver honestly. But that's not a defense. Pressure doesn't justify fraud. October, closing arguments. Prosecution, Michelle Bradford had a choice. Meet the board's targets honestly or commit fraud. She chose fraud, then destroyed evidence to cover it up. That's not a mistake, that's a crime. Defense. This is a woman who dedicated her career to diversity, who believed in the company's mission, made errors in judgment, but not criminal acts. Jury deliberates for 8 hours. Comes back with verdict. Guilty on all counts. Michelle breaks down crying. Her lawyers immediately file for appeal. But the evidence was too strong. Appeal won't change anything. December, sentencing hearing. Judge is a woman, Patricia Warner, she's 64. Seen plenty of white-collar crime cases. Prosecution recommends 15 years. Defendant committed systematic fraud, then destroyed evidence to avoid accountability. Showed no remorse, blamed everyone else. Defense pleads for leniency. Ms. Bradford has no prior record. Was trying to help her company. Already lost her career, her reputation. Judge Warner reads her statement. A mess. Bradford, you held a position of trust. As CFO of a publicly traded company, you falsified reports to investors, misrepresented employee identities without consent, then destroyed evidence when caught. You violated that trust in the most serious way. Sentence, 12 years federal prison, $2.5 million in fines. Permanent ban from serving as officer or director of public company. Michelle's lawyer's appeal denied. She reports to federal prison in March. Minimum security facility in West Texas. Serves at least 10 years before parole eligibility. Tech Vault settles shareholder lawsuits. $120 million payout. Company survives, but severely damaged. Stock still hasn't recovered to pre-scandal levels. I leave Tech Vault 6 months after trial. Can't work there anymore, too much baggage. Some people still blame me. Like I should have covered for Michelle. Let the fraud continue. Now I work in forensic accounting. Help companies investigate financial fraud. Turns out discovering Michelle's scheme built my reputation. The auditor who caught a CFO committing securities fraud. Get hired by companies wanting thorough audits. Making more money, doing interesting work. No regrets about reporting. Today, 18 months since this started. Michelle's in prison, year into her sentence. Writes op-eds from prison somehow, about witch hunts against female executives. How she was targeted for being a woman in finance. Never acknowledging what she actually did. The fraud, the lies, the destroyed evidence. Always someone else's fault. Tech Vault hired a new CFO, guy named Thomas Chun. He's 49, super careful, triple checks everything. Company's still recovering. Actual diversity numbers improving, slowly. Doing it the right way now, legitimate hiring. Turns out when you don't fake the numbers. Progress is slower but real. I think about Michelle sometimes. How she had everything. CPA, MBA, CFO of a public company. Spoke at conferences, admired in the industry. Threw it all away to hit arbitrary targets. Could have told the board, we're not there yet. Here's what we're actually doing. Would have kept her job, kept her freedom. Instead, she committed fraud, then destroyed evidence. And now she's in prison, serving 12 years. Because she chose optics over ethics. Chose fake numbers over real progress. And thought she could delete her way out of consequences. CFO destroyed audit trails to hit diversity targets. SEC agents arrived 8 weeks later. I was the one who preserved the evidence. Made the case that sent her to prison. And I'd do it again. Because fraud is fraud. No matter how good the intentions. No matter what cause you claim to serve. When you lie to investors. Destroy evidence. Fabricate data. You face consequences. 12 years of consequences. In federal prison. Where your op-eds don't matter. And your excuses don't work. I ran into one of Michelle's former assistants. Last month, woman named Patricia, she's 29, worked under Michelle for 3 years. She quit right after Michelle got arrested. Couldn't handle the association. We're at a coffee shop. She recognizes me. You're the auditor who reported her. I nod, waiting to see if she's angry. Patricia, thank you. That surprises me. She continues. I helped her with some of those reports. Didn't realize what I was doing at first. She'd say update these classifications and I'd do it. Thought it was legitimate reclassification. Me. When did you realize it wasn't? Patricia. When SEC interviewed me. Showed me the evidence. Asked if I knew it was fraud. I didn't, but I should have questioned it. Should have asked why we were changing employee data. She got immunity for cooperating, but still feels guilty. I was part of it, even if I didn't know. I tell her, you testified, you helped convict her. That matters. Patricia, she still emails me from prison, asking me to write letters supporting her appeal, saying we were both victims of a sexist system. Me, what do you say? Patricia, I don't respond. She's not a victim. She's a criminal. I just want to move on. The employees Michelle misclassified, some of them sued. Not the company. They sued Michelle personally. Emotional distress, identity theft, that kind of thing. John Martinez, the engineer listed as Hispanic. He told a reporter, she used my name to lie, made me part of fraud without my knowledge. That's not just unethical, it's violating. Sarah Chun, listed as Asian when she's not. My identity isn't a corporate metric. I'm not a checkbox on a diversity report. What she did was dehumanizing. They settled out of court. Michelle's insurance paid most of it. But the point was made. You can't just reclassify people for your benefit. Can't treat human beings like statistics to manipulate. That's what bothered me most about this whole thing. Not just the securities fraud, but the casual way Michelle used people. 20 employees, their identities commodified. So she could report better numbers. Never asked permission, never considered how they'd feel. Just changed their classifications and moved on. That level of disregard for people, while claiming to champion diversity. The hypocrisy is staggering. TechVault's new diversity reports are different now. Actual numbers, verified by independent auditors. Slower progress than the fake reports showed. But it's real. Current minority representation, 19%. Up from 16% when I first discovered the fraud. 3 percentage points in 18 months. That's legitimate growth. Through actual hiring, actual retention efforts. Mentorship programs, pipeline development, the real work. Not just changing labels on existing employees. The new CFO, Thomas, he presents these numbers honestly. We're making progress. It's slower than we'd like. But it's authentic and it's sustainable. Investors appreciate the honesty. Stock's been recovering slowly. Still below pre-scandal levels, but climbing. Turns out people value integrity, even if the numbers aren't as pretty. I spoke at a conference last year. Forensic accounting event, panel on corporate fraud. Someone asked, "Do you regret reporting it?" Company took a huge hit. People lost jobs in the layoffs. I thought about it carefully. No, I don't regret it. Michelle's fraud wasn't a victimless crime. She lied to investors. They made decisions based on false data. She violated employee privacy, used their identities without consent. She destroyed evidence to avoid accountability. If I'd stayed quiet, I'd be complicit. Another person asked, "Was it worth losing your job over?" I laughed. I didn't lose my job, I left. Big difference. Could have stayed at TechVault if I wanted. Chose to move on because the environment was toxic. But I left on my terms, with my integrity intact. Someone else, what would you tell other auditors in similar situations? Me? Document everything, always. Back up your evidence before confronting anyone. And when you find fraud, report it. Your job is to protect the company from liabilities. Sometimes that means protecting it from its own executives. Michelle's appeal was denied again last week. Her lawyers argued she received excessive sentence. First-time offender, nonviolent crime. 12 years is too harsh. Appeals court disagreed. Defendant's destruction of evidence demonstrated consciousness of guilt. Pattern of fraud was systematic and intentional. Sentence is within guidelines and appropriate. She's got 10 more years minimum. Won't be eligible for parole until she's 57. Her career is over, reputation destroyed. That Wharton MBA doesn't matter in federal prison. All that speaking at conferences about women in leadership just makes the fraud worse in retrospect. She had a platform, influence, respect, used it to commit crimes, then played the victim when caught. Some people still defend her online. She was held to a higher standard because she's a woman. Male CFOs get away with worse. Maybe some do, I don't know. But that doesn't excuse what Michelle did. Fraud is fraud regardless of gender. And destroying evidence is always a crime. She made her choices. Now she's living with them. In a prison cell in West Texas. Writing eds nobody reads. About injustices she invented. While the real injustice. The 20 employees she exploited. The investors she defrauded. The company she damaged. Gets barely a mention. CFO destroyed audit trails to hit diversity targets. SEC agents arrived 8 weeks later. She's serving 12 years. And every time someone asks me if I regret being the whistleblower, I think about those employees, whose identities she stole. I think about those investors,